Good afternoon. I am Valerie R. Austin and the author of the Student's Comprehensive Guide for College and Other Life Lessons. I wrote the book to assist high school students and their parents to navigate the journey of careers and college. I am also the host of the Employer Speaks series, which is designed to highlight different careers and the paths to achieving those careers. Today, I have a very special guest. Nadine Ullman is a certified public accountant, or CPA, who began her accounting career in 1984 in New York at the world's largest professional services firm, Price Waterhouse. Nadine relocated to South Florida in 1993 and began working for the Archdiocese of Miami as a comptroller overseeing the Education Foundation. Years later, Nadine pursued her second master's degree in taxation at Florida International University. In 2007, she started her own CPA firm. Nadine serves on the board of Partners for Self-Employment. She is also a former chapter chair and current board of director of the North Dade South Broward, Florida Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which has a membership of over 700 CPAs. She has approximately 35 years of experience in her field. Nadine is the proud mother of two. Her passions surround financial literacy, cultural awareness, traveling, and food tasting. I look forward to this discussion with Nadine, where we explore the exciting topic of how to become a certified public accountant. Thank you for watching. So, although accounting relies heavily on math, are there other academic disciplines such as English reading, computer programming that would help high school students in the future if they wanted to become an accountant?
I would say for English, yes, because you have to have a command. You have to be able to read. You have to read the instructions. You have to look at the form and say, okay, does this make sense? Reading, is fundamental for everything. Okay, so good reading comprehension skills is required. And I would think that not so much computer programming, but having an understanding of how computers work. I can tell you that a lot of young people have developed things that have made the accounting profession very good. Intuit itself, it is the maker of TurboTax. What it did was it took the accounting code and it made it tech friendly. There is an app that I myself even use. It's called Mile IQ. Not getting a plug, but I thought this was ingenious. Somebody developed an app, and when you were driving somewhere in your car, because it was keeping, on our phones has GPS, and it was keeping track of how many miles you've gone or to this location, and then you swipe to the right, like you would in Tinder if you like. Okay, swipe to the right if you like the person. So that would be, if you're swiping to the right, it's business, and you're swiping to the left, it's personal. So at the end of the year, it gives you a mileage log that you're required to have for your business. So, there might be some future person looking, a high schooler, who has an idea on how to do something in technology that will make the accounting profession even easier.
So all those kids out there, there's opportunity out there for accounting in terms of making it easier instead of those with the calculator and the piece of paper coming out. Now, let me ask you this. So from what you're saying, I hear that if you're planning on becoming an accountant, I would think problem solving, logic, leadership, communication, and personal skills dealing with clients would be important skills that a CPA would have. Do you agree? Is there anything that you would add or delete?
I absolutely agree with that. One of the things I think that we don't think about as an accountant, we think, oh, accounting is also marketing yourself, marketing your brand. When I first started out, I would go to business meetings and around tables, networking. And one of the things that I was taught, that I was never taught in college, but I learned as life, that you have to stand up and give a tagline to somebody so they'll remember you. And if you would like, I can tell you, my tagline used to be, keep your business in the black and the IRS off your back. Why? Because I wanted you to remember, number one, that I was a Black woman, and keep your business in the black means that you're earning money, you're not in the red. Because if you're making all this money and at the end you show the IRS that you made no money, they're like, hold up.
Red flag.
Yeah, let me see the veracity of those negatives that you're saying that I spent all this money, I had no money to pay you. The IRS says, oh, no, hold up, let me take a look at that. So that was a tagline that I used. And believe it or not, Not right then and there did people, and I passed out business card. And by giving that out, people later came to me. They remembered me and referred me business. So a lot of business, whatever it is relationship building. It is being able to articulate and talk to people and make people comfortable enough to say, hey, if I do business with that lady, she knows what she's doing. She's smart. I'm going to give her a chance. And that has happened. I went from having no customers and to having around 350 individual clients, and then a great number of business clients now. So it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. My name is not Price Waterhouse.
Not recognizable yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll change. So are there any books or are there any books or websites that a young person in college or high school might be able to take a look at if they wanted to learn something about becoming a certified public accountant?
I would say yes. For example, for myself, if you're in Florida, it would be, you could look at the FICPA, FICPA.org.
Your organization.
Right, the organization that I belong to. They are 18,500 strong in this entire state. My chapter is just 700. And we're really proud to say in my chapter, I can tell you, prior to myself, there had been only one other person who had, that was in 1980, that would have been the chapter chair. We call it chapter chair now, but they used to call it chapter president. So prior to myself, 33 years later, taking the presidency, 8 Black people have since, in our chapter of 700, have become the chair. And that was just by going out and telling young CPAs, hey, you can do this. You're good at what you do. And not all of them are in tax. A lot of them are 2 to 3 I can think of are, one of them is under 35. And she was our chapter chair, and her area is audit. She specializes in audits of nonprofits. So 35 is very young. And it may sound old to a high school student, but I promise you that it is not.
Something to aspire to.
Right, exactly. So the FICPA, the AICPA, I know that the CPA Society in New York has a whole group that talks about what a high schooler needs if they're thinking about a CPA. So there's all kinds of outreach. There's also, when you get to college, we as the FICPA, we give scholarships to help people because there is, to explain to you, it is 120 credit hours, right? That's the minimum, plus 30 credit hours to make 150 hours. So what does that really mean in essence? You're taking your bachelor's degree at 120 plus 30 credit hours. Now, do you have to have a master's degree? No. They're saying it's 30 credit hours. But again, when I talk to young people, I say, okay, hold up. 10 times 3 is 30. So that's a degree. That's a master's degree. Mm-hmm. Obtain a master's, be it in finance.
Might as well go on and do it.
Might as well go on and do it. And the states, it's actually 55 jurisdictions. I know it's beyond the 50 states because we have places like American Samoa, the US Virgin Islands that allow you to take the CPA exam. So the exam is the exam no matter where you take it. But what's different is the state. Each state gets to decide who can be a CPA. Usually you have to be 18 years of age. The other thing that you have to be is you have to meet the educational requirement of the state. The state may or may not give, quote unquote, what we call reciprocity or practice mobility. Like you can be a CPA. I happen to have 5 CPA licenses. I do not encourage people to do that, but I did. I started out in New York, went to California, then down to Florida, and then went back up to Ohio, Pennsylvania. So those are my 5. I keep those active because I say you never know. I have clients in California. And I keep my up to date on what's happening in California, in New York too. That's where I began. But actually, mostly I practice in Florida. But my point is, entry level into the position is 150 credit hours everywhere. So I tell you, might as well get a master's degree in something that you are interested in, be it finance, because my first MBA is in finance. So, but I was interested in tax. I went back and got a second because I wanted to be very knowledgeable, very capable of talking about what I was talking about. I wanted that confidence, and I got that because a master's in tax.
May I interrupt you for a second, though? You talked about having a bachelor's degree in accounting or business is required to become a CPA, 120, but then the actual 30. With that being said, once you get that degree, You briefly mentioned it, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants Uniform Certified Public Accountant exam. That gets you to be an accountant. What's the format of that exam? And when they pass the exam, are they now a CPA?
Okay, that's a good question. That is a yes and a no. And it depends on the jurisdiction.
Explain it for me.
Okay, so this is the issue. Everybody has to take that exam, no matter what state you're in. So to qualify, the state looks at what each state says, this is the educational background that you must have. Once you take the exam went from, when I took it back in my time, it was a 5-part exam. Now it's a computerized test. It's a 4-part exam, okay? You can take one exam at a time, and you have up until 2 years to pass.
Okay, that's not bad.
My time was 5. It was either May and November, and then we used to call being at the weeping well to see whether you passed or not. That was, you have to take it all, and you have to get minimum scores. Okay, so coming back around. So once you take that test, it depends what jurisdiction. I can tell you New York, where I began. New York says, okay, great, you have the credit hours, great, you passed the test. But you know what? I want some experience. I want you to go work for somebody. So New York said, if you only had back then 120 hours, this is before they mandated the 150. If you only have 150 hours, you need 2 years work experience. I don't care. Go work under a CPA.
So is that the difference between a certified public accountant and just a public accountant?
Okay, that's a good one too. A public accountant means that you have met the educational requirements, but you haven't sat for the CPA exam.
Oh, I see.
So you can become certified. It just takes a long time. There's only 5 states, if I recall correctly. And it's, let me see if I can name them. It's Alaska, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Georgia, and Maine. Those are the 5 that allow you to, if you have enough time working under a CPA, that they'll recognize you. But it's coming harder because they're under pressure from the different CPA societies. Say, no, everybody come take the test. So that is, so I would, if you're a young person, I would not recommend that. That would not be the path. I don't think
you want to become certified as a public accountant. Now, some places, some states I read, they require an ethics exam for CPA certification. Why does a CPA need ethics?
Okay.
Everybody need that.
Everybody needs ethics, particularly in the financial realm. You need ethics because you want to make sure that people are going to do what is in the interest of the client. Now, the ethics exam doesn't come into place until after you become a CPA. That exam is to renew your license. Okay. For example, myself, every 2 years, for example, the state of California, I just renewed my license, and I am required to take an ethics, 4 hours of ethics, and talking about different situations about how to be ethical. And then they give you examples of how people weren't ethical and how they had to tap them and take away their license. And then some people have gone to jail. So ethics is about, and it became very, very important, I think, after the Bernie Madoff scandal. And for those in high school or those who may not know, he ran the largest Ponzi scheme that there ever was. And some people jumped out windows. Very wealthy people lost money all across the board because, and why did that happen? Well, he lacked ethics, but then there was also people who helped him hide, and then sometimes we tell people, just because the person is driving a 5 Series or a G-Wagon, they may be one step away from losing everything because that paycheck doesn't come. So what it appears to be may not really be what it is in reality. I guess it's kind of how the kids on IG or TikTok, when you see the person, they're all dolled up and looking great, but that's not how they always look.
There's the face that you show, and then there's the reality of what's going on. Everything that glitters isn't gold. I understand completely what you're saying. Now, can non-accounting majors and non-accountants become CPAs through just taking that CPA exam, or do they actually have to have business or finance or accounting as their bachelor's? Can you become a CPA just by taking the exam? No, you must. The state says, each jurisdiction says, this is the educational requirement. To become a CPA now, they say these are how many accounting classes. These are how many law classes. These, business law classes. These are how many business statistics. These is how many, whatever it is. They have designed it out and said this is what you need to take.
So you can't just become a CPA other than those 5 states that I've mentioned before that let you become a PA and then take the exam. But that's with years. I mean, you must do 9, 10 years working under somebody to be eligible.
So if you're already gotten your bachelor's degree,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, you've already gotten your bachelor's degree, and let's say it's in, I'm just going to say funny, basket weaving 101. And then you get in your head after watching this, I want to become a certified public accountant. What would be your first step? Do you go talk to the college and talk to the advisor? Do you go talk to a CPA to find out what their path was? Do you talk to there's a board, I believe, that a professional organization that assists people in finding about the tests for being a CPA? Where do you go? Where do you start?
I would first, if I were that person, the easiest path that I would go, I'd go to a community college. Why? Because you're getting classes that are going to be at an accredited university. Okay.
Before you even get to go into the community college, who should you talk to get the idea of what it is to be a CPA?
I think you should talk to somebody in the profession. You should reach out. There's people like myself. We're all over. Yes, we're not numerous, but there's always people like myself who give courses. Like, for example, there's a online forum called CPA Academy, and there are CPAs on there, and you don't have to be a CPA, and it shows who's giving the talk and the bio of the person, and you can go on, and then you can ask questions, and the person has their email and their information on how to find them. You can reach out and say, hey, I'm a high school student, I'm thinking about this profession. I did a course for my own interest, and these group of CPAs, they were in Texas, and all minority men and women, they had a firm. So they give in the bio how to get interested in them. You can also go talk to a college advisor or anyone who's in the profession. I would say October to November is a great time to reach out to somebody. Any of the societies, FICPA, California CPA Society, New York City, they have forums for students that you can join for free, and they will, pair you up with someone.
So it's research, and that talking to someone who's in the profession, maybe contacting the college admissions office and that department that deals with accounting, any way that you can find out information on what it takes, especially when you're talking about those 150 credits. That's so important to know how long you have to stay in school. Now, when I was looking at CPAs, there are a lot of titles: controller, budget analyst, chief financial officer, forensic accountant, all of these different titles. What industries typically employ a CPA? Is it 100% everybody?
It's 100% everybody, to be honest. 100% everybody. There is, whether you work for the government, which is the IRS, you could work for DEA, CIA, to name a few, because remember, when they're looking at financial crimes, right? It's the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers show, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Right, that's the government. Nonprofits, they're getting in grants. So you have to know what the compliance, when somebody gives you a grant to do something or money to do something, are we following the rules? Follow the money. Are we documenting how we're using that? Private sector, okay? We're in here making business, we're doing business. How can we cut costs, okay? Are we squandering the money? What are the ratios? What is the sales versus the expenses? All of those things. So private sector, okay? And then the public sector, you have a publicly traded company. Amazon, it started by selling books, and then it became
Whole Foods. Purchased that.
Purchased Whole Foods. It purchased Babies R Us. It purchased just about anything that you could think of, and it absorbed a bunch of different things, and now it is the place to go for everybody. You always see an Amazon Prime on the road delivering.
So they have to know about how to deal with the documents running a business, in addition to with compliance of the laws. Now, according to career website, mynextmove.org, CPAs can earn a range from $45,220 to $128,680. The median salary is like $73,560. And it also depicts a bright job outlook. We already talked about everybody needs a CPA. Now, what determines job security, upward mobility, and greater pay within your field? What are some of the things that require you to do better in your career field?
I think, for example, You can be what this pandemic has shown. If you're a CPA, you have to hone in your skills, into an area. For example, if I understand about the laws of aviation and buying planes and what the government has set aside using PPP, which is the loan protection program or whatever, JetBlue may be interested in me because I understand aviation law and I understand taxes. JetBlue, Delta, though they may be interested in my skills, and I might not have to I might not have to be in an office. I can be from wherever I am. I can be a consultant because I have that skill. So if you have a passion in an area, let's say you have a passion in cars, okay, the rental car companies went down and then now they're building back up. If you understand those kinds of things, then that is going to give you better bang for your, people will be willing to pay you for knowing that skill.
So young people say, oh, I want to go into the NFL. I want to play football. You probably make money for those first 3 years you're playing football. But then what do you do after? Oh, I understand the football industry. Now I could be a CPA for the football industry or the baseball industry.
For the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs.
And they're coming to me because I have the expertise. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Exactly. Like, for example, you need to know, for example, something that athletes, depending upon where you're playing, some places charge you a tax for playing in their area. It started, quote unquote, Michael Jordan, because he's making all this money. So Chicago felt, oh no, California has to pay. So there's all these different rules for athletes. If you understand the rules about how athletes are taxed for their performance, okay, because athletes are performers, and you have that expertise and you have a CPA background, then you could, maybe you're not playing and throwing the football, but you're managing the money in the football.
Okay. Now, do CPAs occupations have a linear career progression, or you've talked about it, but can they be more flexible in how they move up? Is there an upward mobility for a CPA? Do you become head of all the CPAs? How does that work?
Well, it depends upon the industry. For example, if you went into the public accounting arena and you work for a big firm, usually that's a 10-year career path. Within 10 years, you've built enough relationship, because remember, it's not only just doing the work, it's bringing in business.
Okay. Like a lawyer.
Like a lawyer. Like a partner, why would I make you a partner of my business if you can't bring me business? So you're out there talking to people and saying, hey, give us an opportunity to work with you. And that's why you see a lot of CPAs, they play golf, because they say that that's a way networking and business. Okay. And if you don't play golf, you're kind of like out of that realm. Okay. So that would be in the public accounting. I think doing a practice like a CPA practice in tax, taxes are forever. Taxes are all year round. And then there's all the people who have problems. They didn't do something right. You didn't necessarily do the tax, but as a CPA, it allows you practice privilege. It allows you to step into and talk to the IRS and say, hey, I'm representing so-and-so. They did their taxes, they made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. Let me help them get into compliance. Maybe they can have things called like an offer and compromise. They're very rare, they're very specific. I know that you see a lot of people say, let me let you pay pennies on the dollar. That's not really true. Because if you have capacity to pay me, okay,
they want their money.
The IRS says, cough it up. I've had one of the funny things, I had a 25-year-old, no, he was younger than that. He was like 21. He graduated from college, he had his first job, and he didn't let them take any taxes out on federal withholding. And he owed $5,000. And he said, oh, well, can't you give me an offer and compromise with the IRS? I said, wait a minute. You're 21, you have 60 plus years of work life. The IRS is gonna say, get out of here, okay? Just pay this. Because if you don't pay it, I'm gonna garnish your paycheck, son. Okay.
Yes.
So wait
a minute. Let me ask you this. Well, I've seen taxes done where the representative can be a lawyer, a CPA, an EA. What's between those three in the time that we have?
Okay, so
the IRS.
In the legal profession, they tell you lawyers who have LLMs should be practicing in the area of tax. That is a lawyer that went for a master's to understand tax law. Okay. So that would be when we fill out a power of attorney form to talk to the IRS, the lawyer gets the little A. A CPA gets the B, okay? And not all CPAs do tax. You will find CPAs who just do audits of publicly traded companies, or CPAs who do non-for-profits or hospitalization. They're not doing tax. You have to find a CPA who has a tax background, because if they don't, then they don't know what they're talking about. Okay. And then the other area is called an enrolled agent. And that is somebody who takes the exam also. You must be at least 18 years of age by the, when you take the exam. And that is I want to say, this is a 3-part exam. And it allows you, once you pass that exam, practice privileges in all 50 states in the United States. Different from the CPA, because I'm by jurisdiction, okay? But that doesn't mean if you're practicing before the IRS, that's federal. So that's why the CPA can practice in any of the states. Also, the enrolled agent can also practice. So they're telling the IRS, hey, I have practice privileges. I have the right to help you, this client come into compliance, negotiate with you, talk to you. And if my client is wrong, I have to go back and say, hey, client, what you thought was not correct. This is the way to do it. And let's work with the IRS, pay them their money back.
So why be a CPA when you could be a EA?
Okay, so here, the EA, you can be both. I'm not saying that there's a path that someone who studied accounting or didn't study accounting, that is a path. And I guide people into that path. It depends on who you are. If you can become a CPA, the CPA brand is recognizable, just largely recognizable. In EA, it is there. And as they get together and grow as a group, EAs also come out of the IRS. EAs, if you practice for 5 years or more and you work inside the IRS and you're in compliance and things of that nature, after 5 years experience, the IRS will award you that EA certificate. I'm not sure.
So in my mind, CPA is the gold standard for you to find someone who has that specialization dealing with money that you need. The CPA is that gold standard.
Right, because the state is regulating that we have state oversight.
And that ethics stands out blaringly. Now, being the current board director of the North Dade South Broward Florida Institute of CPAs, that gives you an opportunity for mentorship. What do you see among CPAs that you try to point out to them to say, hey, this is where you need to go with this quickly? Where do we go with that?
I tell CPAs, and it gave me a chance to do financial literacy, to go out and explain to people how to manage money from basic things. Like, just don't go out and max out the credit card and making the minimum payment, because the way the minimum payment is designed, it gives you 30 years to pay it off. People are surprised by that. So it gives you an opportunity to help people understand the basics of money. And I see us bringing people into the profession. I'm proud to say I see a lot of young women coming into the profession, and it gives you flexibility. Let's say you decide to have a family and you leave for a little while. If you have that CPA license and you keep it active, you can come back and just pick up from where you began, and you can even work on your own. It is doable. So I think that it's just a dynamite, wonderful profession. I can't speak highly enough about it. I put 2 kids through college with no debt in my profession. So I'm very proud of that.
So that discussion that you would have with the young CPAs it provides financial stability. You have the ability to help people, the flexibility. And I'll say if you're a woman and you leave, you can come back. And basically, for people who do not know, we talked about African Americans earlier, other people of color, it's something to think about, to explore as something that you might enjoy. Now, let me ask you this. This is probably my last question, actually, but what is your advice to those high school or college students who are unsure if accounting as a major is worth their time and effort to pursue for a potential career?
I say look for an internship. Look for an internship as soon as you can. Some internships are after school. Some are during the summer. Look for an internship where even if you're doing an accounting clerk position, so you can be exposed, so you have the opportunity to talk to people. And maybe it's for you, you never thought about it. I never knew an accountant growing up. I had never met one. And by doing that internship in New York at this large place, which was IBM, I encountered a CPA. and it changed the trajectory of my own life. So it is my life's work. I enjoy it, and I wish people would feel free to come to me and reach out. So I'm hoping through watching a video that they'll have that opportunity.
Okay. Well, Nadine, all I can say is thank you so much for being on Employer Speaks. You have given us so much to think about, that accounting has so many different paths that young people can pursue, and they're not in a box.
Correct.
And it's just a matter of researching and talking to people in your field, going on websites that are dedicated to being a CPA, and it's all about the exposure. So thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I would just like to say thank you for having me, and I'm always open to anyone reaching out to me. My firm is called Bright Tax Florida, and it's www.brighttax, there's 2 T's, fl.com. Please feel free to reach out, and we hope we can help you. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you so much, Nadine. And you are a mentor, you're a leader, and I hope anyone who's looking at this will understand that CPA is sounds like a great thing to me, the gold standard.
It is.
Well, thank you so much, Nadine, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Take care.